Welcome everybody to the second race of the multi-class sprint season, as we can officially call it, and we are at Spa, and as you can see, very treacherous conditions out here as the GT4s go out for their first couple of laps, and we'll see who is able to beat these horrible conditions. And hopefully not crash, which is the biggest W, if you can just not crash. The biggest W. We are currently with Vladimir Dulepov in the McLaren. You can probably go to TV camera 2. But the first person who will be setting a lap is Tom Young in the what is probably one of the best cars, the best sounding cars, the Chevrolet Camaro. I mean, just listen to how it roars. That V8, absolutely amazing. And hopefully we'll get to hear more of it throughout the race. If it doesn't crash, because I feel like it will be super hard for a lot of drivers out here today. But now finally through Blanchimont towards the bus stop chicane. And to start the first lap, and we can go on board with the Brit to see how he does. Very good acceleration down towards the source, braking nice and early, especially in the rain. Trying to go sharply. Oh, nearly hitting the wall there. Oh, that was very close. And now towards the Rouge and Radallon complex as he aquaplanes. Having to lift probably a little bit. Oh, actually quite a bit there. And still absolutely heading straight off the track. And that is 100% going to be an invalid lap. And we'll have to go to another person. Here is Mac Rossa, who has made it through a Rouge and Radallon in the Alpine. Probably one of the best cars out here today. And then towards the chicane after the Camel Straight. Absolutely no grip out there. But through No Name. Is that No Name? That's a different name. This is No Name. Right before Pouon, where we'll probably see most drivers struggle for grip infinitely. But looks like the Alpine able to keep it on the track. And we'll go off camera again. You see Mac Crosser heading towards the very long-winded chicane. I mean, I wouldn't really call it a chicane at this point, but it is a stretch of road. Mac Crosser able to keep it, or Mac Rosa, I guess, is one way to pronounce that. But looking to be an okay lap time so far, as conditions are going to improve throughout the lap. Actually, throughout the whole entire session, conditions will be improving massively. Is now towards the bus stop chicane, hoping to get it stopped just in time as Mac Rosa very nicely trying to get the power down as quick as possible. Running way off the track in a good way. And Matt Crosser sets a 246.8. And is anybody going to be able to beat that? We'll find out in just a little bit. As not a valid lap. Is this going to be a valid lap? Yes, it is going to be a valid lap, and it's going to beat Matt Crosser. Eric Johansson able to go at 246.8, and that is very close at the top. But Strutsenko, Alexander Strutsenko, going a second quicker than P2 in the Maserati. So we've got a Maserati replacement so far. We can have a look at Marco Basile as well, the man who is fighting for the championship. We saw a very good finish by him last time out. And he is currently P2 only 7 points behind Nikolai Polakov after getting that P2 in Nürburgring, at Nürburgring. And we saw last time as well, Marco Basile unfortunately getting taken out, but it didn't really matter to him, though he could have possibly been fighting for a top spot if something was to happen to Nikolai Polakov. But nevertheless, Marco Basile coming towards the bus stop chicane now, with 2.5 minutes to go for these GT4s. What will Marco Basile will be able to do on his first run, as he's probably got one more run to go. It's a 2:42.2. An absolutely stunning lap time by the Chevrolet driver, as he absolutely puts it on pole position, a whole 3 seconds ahead of Alexander Strutsenko. As Alexander Strutsenko hoping to improve, but not improving by a lot right now. Here is Thomas Wunder going through the final chicane and hoping to get a valid lap on the board. It is going to be valid, and it's going to be third place ahead of Eric Johansson. And Marco Basile not satisfied with how quick he's gone. He's going 2/10 quicker, and he might do a 2:41 by the end of this lap. Here's Tom Young, still an invalid lap, unfortunately for him. So he will have to do one more run where he might be under pressure from some hungry GT4s. Mac Rosa is improving a whole 2 seconds right now, hoping to put it onto the front row alongside Marco Basile as they come across the line in the Alpine. It's a 2:44.9. It's enough for front row. Vladimir Dolepov taking that space away at 2:44 dead in the McLaren. And here is Olaf Nikolai, and it's an invalid lap for them. Lucas Van Dam coming across the line in the pink and blue Alpine. It's 5th place for him at 2:46.5. Alexander Strutsenko not improving, and unfortunately it's also an invalid lap. So falling down to 4th place did Alexander Strutsenko. Very, very unfortunate. But what isn't unfortunate is Marco Basile's time right now, a whole 7/10 up. And also, with the absence of Nikolai Polakov, it's looking to be a good weekend for Marco Basile in order to take that championship lead away from him. As he comes through towards Blanchimont, we can start to tell we can start to tell the GT3s to go on track in just a little bit, as Marco Basile, he's going a whole second up right now, and it's going to be a 2:41 unless something comes across him in the final corner. And it's looking to be very confident from Marco Basile as he comes across the line to set the final lap, and it's going to be a 2:41.0. As now we can start to let the GT3s out. So now with the final GT4s coming across the line, we can start to see the GT3s come on track. Here's Thomas Wunder coming across the line now. He's 1.6 seconds up on his time. He's hoping to get himself up from 8th place. What will it be? From 8th all the way up into 6th of 2:45.2 in the Audi. Tom Young, it's going to be a valid lap finally for him, so what will it be? As we don't really know the sort of times that Tom Young will be able to do. Also in the Chevrolet looking to be very, very strong in these conditions. 2 seconds is Marco Basile ahead of Lewis de Witt, who's in 2nd place, as Tom Young comes across the line. And what will it be? It will be 2nd place. And I tell you, that Camaro having some crazy pace out there as Mac Rosa goes up into 5th place. Olaf Nicolai, is it going to be a valid lap? Yes, it is, in the Mercedes, the lone Mercedes out on track right now. And he comes across the line. It will be a pretty good lap time, I think, as he does have a valid lap at 2:45.8. And Stritsenko, it's going to be an invalid lap, and that's going to be the end of his qualifying session. And he stays in 9th place. So Marco Basile taking pole position ahead of Tom Young in the Camaro, and Lewis de Witt, the leading Alpine out there today. It's a 1-2 for the Chevrolets, and we'll see now the GT3s how they are performing. It looks like it's not going to be a wet start. At least it looks like it's not going to be a wet start. But Abe Santama, probably one of the best drivers out there in the rain right now, driving one of the worst cars suited for the rain. We'll see what he's able to do as we can go helmet cam. That wiper working its absolute life to help clear the windshield, the small windshield that the McLaren has, lifting through Rouge and Radillon, trying to keep it nice and on track. And this is an invalid. No, it's not. Keeping it just within the lines. Great stuff. There's a little bit of aquaplaning there. There is a lot of horrible puddles dotted all around Spa, especially the Kemmel Straight, as braking pretty much at the normal board. And then coming through now towards the corner that I hate the most on this track. It's a corner which you don't really know when to accelerate out of, into No Name right before Pouon. It's very easy to invalidate here, but Abe, knowing this track better than most of the people here, able to keep it nicely within the lines, braking and going down to 3rd through Pouon, trying to not really catch those outside curbs, as in the rain it is gonna spin you around very, very quickly, and you won't even notice it. But Abe so far showing some good traction out there. Even in the McLaren, he's able to show great traction. As, ooh, jinxing it a little bit there. Having a lot of counter-steer moments, and again, the car just slipping right from under him. As he hopes to set a good enough time to not really have to stress about going again, having to lift through Blanchimont. And now towards the bus stop chicane, braking pretty, you know what, pretty early, I'd say. And now the part where you can spin out easily as well, not too bad. Coming across the line, it will be a 2:29.2 for the Dutchman in the McLaren. Next across the line will be Dave Van Eyck. He puts himself up into 2nd place with a 2:33.5. And then is Dries Verhaas at 2:31.2. Only about 2 seconds behind Abe Santama. As I said, probably one of the better drivers in the rain out there at the moment. Eduardo Perez coming across the line in just a little bit in the Lamborghini. And he is going to set a valid lap. It's going to be a 2:34.002. Aidan Furby in the Mercedes. An invalid lap for him. Unfortunately, he will not set a time on the board. Ethan Reed, it's going to be a 2:36.3. And then comes Carlo Diorazio for EOS, and it's going to be an invalid lap as well. Gleb Kabubulin, invalid lap. Andrea Morganella, going to be an invalid lap as well. It's an out lap. And hopefully Roberto Santoro will be a valid lap. Yes, it is in the Ferrari 296. That is a very good livery, by the way. I love the black and red contrast. As he comes across the line, and what will it be for Roberto Santoro? It will be third place with a 2:32.7. Then comes Eric Giselle, who's on an out lap. And Claudio Passo, also on an out lap. So who is going to be the next person to come across the line to set a valid lap? Well, it looks like Abe is going to be the next person to come across the line and set a valid lap. He's half a second up on a 2:29.2. Hoping to go into the 2:28 and really solidify that pole position. And 4/10 up, slipping a little bit there. Not going too wide though, definitely losing a bit of time, losing about 3/10 through that one corner, hoping to make it up through the final chicane, bouncing all over that curb. And is it going to be an improvement? It still is going to be an improvement, not as much as he would like to though. 2/10 up, it's a 2:29.1, as Dries Verhulst getting a little bit held up by the Ferrari in front of him, and definitely had a huge improvement in the lap. The Ferrari just getting a little bit in his way as he comes across the line. It will be a 2:30.955. As Eduardo Perez sets a 2:34. Yeah, we already saw that. Oscar Pratt setting a 2:33.3. That's the Ferrari that we saw in front of Dries Verhulst. So not too slow. Well, about 2.4 seconds off Dries Verhulst, but nevertheless, in these sort of conditions, a valid lap is valued dearly. As Ethan Reed hoping to get out of the 2:36s as he comes across the line. It's a 2:35.8. And next across the line is Carlo Diorazio, another valid lap, a 2:36.1. Just behind Ethan Reed, Gleb Kabubulin, invalid lap for him. Aidan Furby also an invalid lap, unfortunately. And Andrea Morganella, is it going to be a valid lap? No, it's not going to be a valid lap. Come on. Who's the next person to set a valid lap? It will be Roberto Santoro for EOS. And it's not going to be enough to get ahead of Dries Verhulst. It's a 2:31.8. Here is Eric Giselle. Is it a valid lap? Yes, it is. And it's the fastest lap so far at 2:28.8. But as we say that, Abe Santama is obviously going 5/10 up. And we saw him also have that big counter-step moment through Blanchimont. So he's got another 3/10 in this lap if everything goes well. And we'll monitor that as he's probably got one more lap if he's lucky. As Claudio Passo setting another good lap. That's a 2:30.0 for the EOS driver. And he's up into third place. Andrew Reid having a huge moment there. And that is cost Abe Santama's time. And there might be even a little bit of damage on his car. As Andrew Reid, having just a big spin right in front of Abbe, indeed. But Abbe lucky enough to have one more lap to go, and we'll be hoping to dethrone Eric from the top spot. Dave Van Eyck, not a valid lap. He will have one more lap to go. Andrew Reid, well, we saw what happened to him, and he's going to have one more lap. He's going to have one exact more lap as Dries Verhulst does improve, not enough to get ahead of Abe. 2:30.0. Eduardo Perez going 1.5 seconds up on his time. And so far it's looking good enough to get ahead of Dave Van Eyck and Oscar Pratt. As Oscar Pratt did set a 2:31, but it is an invalid 2:31, so he does not move up the grid. As there goes Eduardo Perez in the Lamborghini. A good improvement for him with 2:32.665. As Ethan Reed, 2.3 seconds up on his time. Very good improvement indeed, as he's got Carlo D'Orazio right behind him, going 5 seconds up as he goes up into 5th place. Here's also Gleb Kabubulin. It's a valid lap, and it's a 229.6, and that is the true potential we have finally discovered. Aidan Furby setting a valid lap. It's up enough for 12th place, a 235.5. As Eric Giselle goes 8/10 up. Maybe even a whole second if he's able to get this final chicane nicely done. No, he doesn't. But it's a 227.9, a very good lap time. But what could have been from Abe Santama? It could have been a very close one. If it was not Andrew Reid spinning in front of him, as Claudio Passo now comes across the line, and he sets a 229.7 ahead of Dries Verhulst, as Abe unfortunately making a mistake there, and Dave Van Eyck, well, looking to not be improving, as Pavel Morev, well, he's in the GT4, he'll be starting last. So it doesn't really matter. It's always the GT3s that start last that really mess things up. But Dave Van Eyck, nevertheless, will have a look if he's able to improve through the final corner. You never know. In these sort of conditions, one corner can cost you about half a second if you're lucky. And it looks like Dave Van Eyck did lose 2/10 through the final corners. He comes across the line. Will he go ahead of Oscar Pratt? Just not enough to get ahead of Oscar Pratt. It's a 233.5. Oscar Pratt at 233.362. And that is it for the qualifying for today's race. And it, as you can see, in 30 minutes it will be dry, which is when the race happens. So it is absolutely all to play for here. All the people that might have benefited from a wet qualifying will now have to try and struggle to keep all of the dry specialists behind. For example, Abe Santama, we know that he is quick in the dry, and he is going to be right after Eric in this race, especially with that qualifying upset of Andrew Reid spinning right in front of him and unfortunately collecting him through Blanchimont. So Abe will be hunting for blood, that's for sure. But now we just wait for the start of the race. And if you have any sort of predictions for the race, do drop them in the chat, as it is always interesting to see them. But yeah, it's interesting conditions, that's for sure. It's not too cold, but it's also gonna be dry, so you know, who knows? Who knows what will happen? This track in the dry is absolutely insane in terms of the driving standards, you know. And in the wet, I'm not sure how much worse it could get. But let's go through the starting grid. Eric Giselle, a surprise pole position ahead of Abe Santama after Abe getting just a little bit held up by a car spinning right in front of him. Will be starting alongside Eric. Then comes Gleb Kabibulin and Claudio Passo for EOS with a beautiful livery, may I add. Dries Verhulst for Blue Hawk Racing starts in 5th alongside Claudio D'Orazio. And then Roberto Santoro for EOS. He's starting in 7th, also with the same livery as Claudio Passo. So will be a good look for sure. I'll know who the drivers are just from looking at the beautiful livery. And then comes Eduardo Perez and Oscar Pratt and Dave Van Eck in 10th, Ethan Reed in 11th, and Aidan Furby starting in 12th place. And that is for the GT3s, apart from Andrea Morganella and Andrew Reed, who are starting 24th and 25th behind all the GT4s. So hopefully they will be a little bit more careful, especially with the conditions out there right now. Marco Basile is the pole sitter on the GT4 grid. Alongside him is another Chevrolet Camaro of Tom Young. Both of them setting absolutely blisteringly fast laps ahead of the rest of the field. Then comes Lewis de Witt and Bjorn Ryan in the Ginetta. A very good choice. Definitely no bias because it's a British car. And then comes Mac Rosa in the Alpine and Vladimir Delepov in the McLaren. Thomas Wunder in the Audi and Olaf Nikolai in the Mercedes. Then Alexander Sutsenko in the lone Maserati. Obviously, we would have seen another Maserati if Nikolai was here today, but we've got a pretty good replacement. Another beautiful sounding car. It's 100% would recommend listening to that engine. Lucas Van Dam starts in 22nd, and Eric Johansson in 23rd, and last but not least, Pavel Moraev in last place for the GT4s and on the grid overall as well. So, looks like it's still raining. Looks like my thing lied a little bit. Oh, it's going to be turning dry in 10 minutes. So, question is, what do you do? Do you start on the dries, or do you start on the wets? Knowing that there is no mandatory tire change, do you start on the dries? Do you risk the puncture? Especially if you're some of the top drivers in the top 5, do you risk it on some interesting strategy, or do you start on the wets and then go straight to the dries as soon as it starts to get a little bit better, as there is a mandatory refuel as well, and there is no pit window? So it is going to be a little bit of a decision for sure for a lot of these drivers, and we'll see how that plays out. But now Eric finally taking the lead of the formation lap, and he'll be hoping to keep Abe behind no matter what. Absolutely no matter what, he'll try and keep Abe behind, even if that means punting him into the wall or anything like that. Eric needs the win today. I don't know why he needs it, but he does need it. Oh no, they are fighting for the championship, so, you know, the person who wins today will take the championship lead, especially if Abe doesn't finish in second, and if Eric finishes in first, and then Eric will take that step up into P1. Let's just hope that my water didn't freeze today. It didn't. Okay, we got some good fresh water. It's a very long formation lap here, for sure. One of the longest, if not the longest, races, tracks on the calendar. Spa being one of the longest tracks in Formula 1 as well. Actually, the longest track in Formula 1. So, definitely a lot of places where you could make a mistake over one lap. If, like, for example, on Brands Hatch or Zolder, you know, you've only got 1 or 2 places where you can make a mistake and it costs you maybe 1 or 2 seconds, maybe if you're really unlucky 3 to 4. Here you can successfully consecutively make mistakes which will lose you about 4 seconds at the minimum, especially if you like make a mistake after the camel straight and then you mess up Puon, and then you brake too early or too late for the chicane, and yeah, things just start to pile up. Yeah, rain indeed. It is beautiful Belgian weather, as yeah, the rain really starting to slow down. And ooh, tire report. Let's have a look. Starting on the wets, and starting on the wets. So I think the sensible choice for everybody here is to start on the wets. If you are oh, okay. Kabubalin starting on the dries. That is a bold choice. Definitely a very bold choice. Oh, Claudio also starting on the wets, on the dries. So yeah. What was that, Claudio? God damn it. Yeah, it was Claudio. Okay. Yeah, very bold choice. What is Marco Basile doing? Starting on the wets. Okay. It looks like the leaders have made the sensible choice. When's the rain stopping? It's stopping pretty much in a lap or two. Maybe 3 laps. So it says about 10 minutes to go until rain stop, but I think it'll be earlier than that, especially if the rain has stopped drastically. But we are ready to get underway with Abe side by side with Eric Giselle. And who will take the lead into the first corner? Who will take the lead up through a Rouge and after the Camel Straight? Well, only time will tell. As now towards, reminds me of Imola Season 9. Yeah, a little bit for sure. But now towards, down the hill. There you go, towards the marshal who holds the green flag. And we wait until he waves it to go live. And Eric Giselle gets on a pretty good start. Abe Santama now slotting in right behind, not wanting to make any stupid moves. We look to the little bit to the back. What is Aidan Furby doing? He's going right sideways, holding the brakes. So no foul stuff going on there. As Ethan Reed, Eduardo Perez, and Dave Van Eyck going 3 wide towards the end of the Camel Straight. I'm gonna close my eyes because I do not want to know what happens. As oh, you know what? They go through pretty nicely. It's always when it's in the wet, people actually turn on their thinking. Their critical thinking starts to work. As Ethan Reed and Dave Van Eyck and Eduardo Perez able to keep it on the track and keep it nice and clean as well, as Marco Basile fighting with Tom Young out there for the lead. Oh, I need to actually turn on the gaps. I completely forgot about that. There we go. As we can now head back to the front, Abe Santama and Eric Giselle already 1.5 seconds ahead of Dries Verhulst. And Dries Verhulst able to take that position away from Gleb Kabubalin and Claudio Passo, who started on the dries. So we'll see how that pans out for them. As now it will be the fight of the century for the lead of the GT3 class. As Andrea Mortonella already making up a couple of positions. Andrew Reed still stuck in 24th place. Alexander Shutsenko making some contact. Vladimir Delepov and Lewis DeWitt also making contact as Abe Santama, Eric Giselle going side by side through towards Blanchimon, who is going to yield. Abe Santama is off the track and he's going to be heading straight into a wall. Unfortunate stuff, and there was definitely contact there between Eric and Abe, as now he's going to have Roberto Santoro round the outside, going to be trying to make the move into the bus stop chicane. Roberto is on the inside. Abe really trying to fight it out, as he's definitely got quite a bit of damage on his car, and Abe might have to concede this position to Roberto unless he takes the inside And retakes third place for now, as he's got the 2 Hungary Ferraris of the EOS right behind. But oh man, Abe and Eric trying to make it work side by side through Blanchimont. Definitely not a place where you want to try and make a move, as we can head back to the GT4s. We've got Bjorn Rian and Tom Young fighting for second place. It is Bjorn Rian in the Ginetta who has made up 1 position on the start in the GT4 class, and he is chasing down second place and looking like he is cooling down his tires, as it has stopped raining. There we go, it stopped raining, it's turned to damp, and we'll see when people start to pit. Obviously it will not be anytime soon, but we'll see when that happens for sure. We can head back as well a little bit. Vladimir Delepov, Mac Rossa and Lewis de Wit in a little bit of a 3-way battle, as Eduardo Perez falling down quite a lot. He's standing right in the middle of the track. Hopefully people will be able to maneuver around him. Eduardo Perez, he could move a little bit forward. He is trying to move a little bit more forward, but it is the smart thing to do, to let everybody else go around you instead of trying to do some maneuvers, as Eduardo Perez falls down to 26th or last. And now we'll have quite a bit of a job ahead of him in order to make up those lost positions. Yeah, slicks might have been the right call. I'm not sure they have. I'm not sure they were, because if we saw who started on the slicks, it was Claudio Pato and Gleb Kububelin. They started way ahead of the rest. They started ahead of Dries Verhulst, who's currently running in second place, and they're now running practically last place in the GT3s. Obviously not counting oh okay, no, there's actually 3 people who we would have to not count, so they're not running last, but they did lose heaps of positions, as behind we've got Andrea Morganella making up positions ahead of Aidan Furby, and now also trying to make a position on the GT4 as Aidan Furby comes into the pits. Is this going to be our first pitter for the Dries? And that'll be quite interesting. There's also Thomas Wunder coming into the pits. So is Olaf Nikolai. Very, very interesting. Very early pit stops. As yeah, it hasn't turned greasy. It hasn't turned, you know, the next step up from damp. Oh my god, I can't speak today at all. As oh my god, what's happened to Eric? Wait a minute. Why did he just stopped? Let's rewind that back a little bit. We've got Eric over here, and we've got obviously Dries Verhulst right behind. And Eric, does he just brake? Does he just let them go? Yep. He lets them go. I am not sure what the move is here. So now falling down to 3rd place. So possibly feeling like he overtook Abe in a very not good way, I guess. And now not wanting to really feel the guilt. And oh, going way off the track there. As he continues to fight Abe. No, he's not fighting Abe anymore. Oh, and again into the wall. An even huger crash. And straight into the pits. And I'm pretty sure he will be out of the race. As what's happened to Ethan, Claudio, Dave, and Gleb. All having yellow flags. And Ethan Reed also falling down quite a lot of positions as he tries to get back going. Is Ethan Reed now behind 2 of the GT4s, Marco Basile and Tom Young. and having quite a lot of damage. So, not sure what's going on. It could be that tires are starting to overheat. And causing a little bit of problems. What you heard there is Eric leaving the chat. And yeah, Ethan Reed heading straight into the pits. Feeling like his tires are absolutely done. And also wanting to get ahead off the pack, off the game, and go straight onto the slicks. And get that mandatory pit stop out of the way as well. As Tom Young actually came into the pits as well. So, a lot of interesting choices over here. Tom Young, remember, he was running in second place in the GT4s. Not too close to Marco Basile, so could explain why he went into the pits quite early compared to Marco Basile. So, maybe a difference in strategy could be at play here, as Abe Santama closing the gap on Dries Verhulst quite quickly. Last lap at 225.7, apologies. That is a whole 6 tenths up. No, yeah, 6 tenths up on Dries Verhulst last lap. Also holding the fastest lap of the race. And we can really start to see the true Abe shining through. As Claudio Passo, those dry tires might start to work on that car. As Gleb Kabubalin also making up a couple of positions. Could be that people are coming into the pits. Could be that their dry tires are finally starting to pay off. As we can check again, it's still damp. And there's now a lot of people will be exiting the pits. And Abe setting another fastest lap off the race to 25.125. That is 1.4 seconds quicker than Dries Verhulst's last lap. As now we can see, what is Claudio Passo going to do this lap? As he is one of the only people out there on the slicks. It's a 227.5, so not yet really ready for the slick tires, I don't think. As Dave Barnett comes into the pits after having his moment behind Claudio Passo. Yeah, we'll definitely see who gains most from going onto the slicks first. As it looks like Claudio Passo already gaining a whole second through the first sector. And the track starting to really develop under the competitors. As Abe having a moment there. He's lost a whole 1.5 seconds. A whole half a second to Dries Verhulst. Dries Verhulst also having a little bit of contact with a GT4 driver, I suppose. As Claudio Passo absolutely flying right now. He is going 4 seconds quicker than the 227. He's on route to get a 223, which would be 2 seconds quicker than Abe Santama's fastest lap. So dry tires are very much optimum at the moment. So, you know, if you're an engineer listening in and you've got one of your drivers in here, tell them to switch on to the dries approximately now. It is greasy as well, so definitely the time to go onto the dry tires. As Claudio Passo absolutely destroying the field. He's going 5 seconds up on his time right now, as Abe 4 tenths away from Dries Verhulst for the lead. The two McLarens jousting it out. As they might also both come into the pits at the same exact time, as I'm pretty sure they should. As Abe does come into the pits. Does Dries Verhulst come into the pits? Yes, he does. Right behind Abe Santama. So Abe actually able to make the move on Dries before they come into the pits. Claudio Passo, may I add, going 8 seconds up on his time. Though he will have to pit once more. So I'm not sure if it is the move. But he will set the fastest lap right now. He comes across the line. Oh no, he doesn't set the fastest lap. It's only a 2:26, so I'm not sure what my relative was telling me. Roberto Santoro still on the wets. Will have to come into the pits soon. Nailed it. I like the slick call. Yeah, unfortunately though, all of the people that are currently on the slicks, who have started on the slicks, will have to come into the pits again as Ethan Reed, he finds himself in the wall again. What's happened to Ethan Reed? And there's Tom Young as well over here. Remember, he switched on to the dries just a lap ago. Marco Basile still not coming into the pits. He is really waiting it out. As you heard there, that is Ethan Reed leaving. So, yeah, not the best conditions for some of these drivers. As we saw, Ethan Reed and Eric Giselle both struggle very hard. But Marco Basile right now running 4th place overall in a GT4. Who would have seen that coming? As Claudio Passo only 0.2 away from Kleb Kabubelin. Both. Oh, I was going to say both in the McLaren. No. One in a Ferrari. One in a McLaren. And one in the Ferrari. It's a Ferrari sandwich for Kleb Kabubelin. And I'm pretty sure Roberto Santoro has to come in this lap. Otherwise his tyres might just explode. Not a joke. As he doesn't come into the pits. Interesting. Wait, is he on dries? No, he's on wets. How is he still alive? How is Roberto Santoro able to keep the car on the road with wet tyres? I'm not sure. As Marco Basile will probably be thinking of coming into the pits quite soon. Pavel Moraev having a big moment there. He's going to come into the pits quite soon as well. Tom Young making huge gains, I think, right now, as he's got Aidan Furby passing him. No, actually Tom Young 7/10 slower than Marco Basile that last lap, so looks like those tyres really need to heat up before they can be used in a proper manner. Still a greasy track. And there are the people that still have to do a pit stop. Eric Johansson, Andrea Morginella, Pavel Moraev, Marco Basile, Claudio Passo, Gleb Kabubelin, and Roberto Santoro all have to take a pit stop. When will they do it is the bigger question. Claudio Passo still fighting on with Gleb Kabubelin, and he might just make the move here. And that is a beautiful move by Claudio Passo, as he now takes 2nd place. And currently, EOS running 1-2 in this race. As somebody else leaves, I did not see who. Let's have a quick look. It was Dries Verhulst. It is another race. Dries Verhulst, unfortunately, not able to finish, as he retires out of this race. As will we see Marco Basile possibly coming into the pits this lap. 237.6. Tom Young, we'll see what he does this lap, as it will be pretty much now a fight over who is improving more on the different tyre. And we can look at Lucas Van Dam, who was very close with Bjorn Rian, who's fighting with Thomas Wunder as well. This is all for 15th, 16th, and 17th. As Lucas Van Dam looking to the inside again, and not able to make a move. As Tom Young now across the line. Is he going to be quicker than Marco Basile? Oh, it doesn't look like he is. He's a very slow lap, a 242.1. Interesting. Oh no. Oh no, Abe. Oh no, what happened to him? A yellow flag? And he's in the wall. Let's have a quick look at what happened. It caused him to be in the wall. Looks like he's fighting with Andrea Morganella. I don't think he's fighting. I think that's a back marker. Oh, and Andrea Morganella not really looking in the mirrors. And yeah, Abe Santama finding himself way off the track at Puon. And possibly under pressure from Carlo D'Orazio. And with quite a bit of damage, I think, on his car as well. Thomas Wunder having contact with Bjorn Rian, falling down to 19th place. Marco Basile finally coming into the pits. And so is so is Pavel Moraev, maybe? We'll see. As the track, is it any better? No, it still is greasy. The sun not coming out is really the thing that's holding back a lot of these drivers from coming into the pits. There's Pavel Moraev not coming into the pits. Carlo D'Orazio sets in the fastest lap of the race at 2:23.4, and I think that might be the call to Gleb Kebubelin, Claudio Passo and Roberto to come into the pits, especially for Roberto, who is still on the wets. Roberto, please come into the pits. Your tires are screaming right now. As maybe he will listen this time out. And actually come into the pits. Yes, he does. Finally. Thank you, Roberto, for listening. If you are listening. Your tires are absolutely on fire. So are you, though. Fighting right now in P1. There are obviously no pit stops yet for him. So, as Claudio Passo sets another fastest lap of the race, a 2:22.9, and comfortably leading this race ahead of Gleb Kebubelin and Abe Santama. As looks like Eric saying that he was worried that he couldn't concentrate anymore, spun into the wall, and then rage quit after having so much damage. There's Marco Basile, even with the pit stop, able to stay ahead of Tom Young. And Vladimir Dilepov will be also pressuring on Tom Young, so this is playing into Marco Basile's hands quite nicely here, as the McLaren, by the way, an absolute torpedo down the straight, even compared to the V8, and nothing can beat it. As a little bit of love tap there from Tom Young to Vladimir Dilepov. Vladimir Dilepov still ahead, though, gaining quite a big advantage over Tom Young by cutting that chicane. As Carlo D'Orazio now setting the fastest lap off the race at 2:22.6. But Abe, he set a 2:20.2. Invalid, yes, but it is a 2:20, so he's definitely got quite a bit of pace. Just a little bit of pace. Smidge. And Roberto Santoro now coming out behind Carlo D'Orazio. Because I think I heard quite a lot of Alpines and maybe even a Maserati. Now that means that Alexander Strusenko... Nope, Alexander Strusenko isn't close. Dave Van Eck, yellow flag, coming out of a Rouge and Radillon, and that is a pretty beat up car as well. Can they drive? No. That is definitely not a car you want to drive. And have to try and muster his way around the whole entire lap. which I don't think he'll be able to do, considering the fact that he is struggling to turn right. Big time. And he might be just a little bit of a danger to life to the cars behind him, as Pavel Moraev is the person behind him. Though in the GT4 he will be catching. And he is catching, and I think Dave Manek just letting the people behind pass, as he does not want to kill them. That is the last thing he wants to do. Anybody getting stop goes? Nobody's getting stop goes. That is good to see. No penalties so far that I have seen. Because if you do get a drive-through even, that is like 50 seconds or more completely down the drain. As Carlo Di Razio says, a 221.2 valid. Abe Santama 219.1 invalid. So yeah, there's definitely quite a lot of pace in Abe's car. And I think after Kleb Kabubelin and Claudio Passo come into the pits, Abe might take the lead. Unless they don't change tires, but that doesn't matter either. It's Carlo Di Razio now coming across a back marker there, having to navigate around the outside. Obviously, Thomas Wunder knowing what he has to do as Kleb Kabubelin, yellow flags, maybe just a little bit of a spin through Blanchimont. Does he have a puncture? Sounds like he has got a puncture. Can we go into chase cam? Oh yeah. Wait. Okay, it sounded like he ran out of fuel there. Either a puncture or he ran out of fuel, as Claudio Passo also comes into the pits. And Abe will now be able to take the lead soon. It's Claudio Passo just rounding out the final part of the pit lane. Hasn't even stopped yet. That is just how long the Spa pit stop is. As Abe now through the final chicane. Claudio Passo only now stands still as Abe sets a valid lap at 219.7. Quicker than anybody right now on the track. And Abe will be retaking the lead as Claudio Passo, for obvious reasons, will not be exiting the pits anytime soon. And Abe retaking the lead, which he once lost after fighting with Eric. And Eric leaving the race, and now Abe will have to try and survive these last 18 minutes of lapping GT4s and GT3s, as Eduardo Perez suffering quite a bit of damage on his Lamborghini. Carlo Di Razio now up into second place. Roberto Santoro now up into third place. And Oscar Pratt up into fourth. Beautiful stuff by Oscar Pratt, making up 5 positions from the start of the race. And definitely these conditions suiting him quite well. In the 999 Ferrari, in a glossy pink livery, one that you cannot miss. And having to lap Thomas Wunder here as well. Very nicely done. And Claudio Passo also released from the pits. And now he will have his eyes set on Oscar Pratt for the last 18 minutes of this race. As Tom Young will try and get that position back from Vladimir Dilepov after they had their own little battle for second place. And then Vladimir Dilepov absolutely flying right past him on the Camel Straight, having a little bit of contact in the chicane. And after that, Vladimir Delepov able to just set off on his way and not really look back. But now Vladimir Delepov might have to look back in order to see a very hungry Camaro right behind him. That Camaro though. Is that the Camaro? Is that the... Nope, that's the Maserati. Let's just listen to that Maserati. Beautiful stuff. Also a very unique dashboard with a orange background. And just listen on the downshifts here. That is just the beautiful Maserati. Locking up the rears is a must on the Maserati. The downshift noises as well. Absolutely amazing. We can listen to the Camaro V8 as well. I mean, is there any negative about the Camaro V8? Absolutely not. It's an amazing engine. An amazing car. And there's really nothing that can beat it, apart from maybe the 992 Cup, which by far has the best sound. But you know, my opinion switches every single day. Right, it is sunny now. Track is green. There's going to be rain in the next 30 minutes. Thankfully for the drivers, the rain will not catch them. And they will just be able to enjoy the slowly improving conditions on the track. As Abe now will be lapping Tom Young. And a very easy job indeed, as Abe might catch Vladimir Delepov at a little bit of a bad moment here. No, I think it'll be quite perfect down towards the source. A very short run towards the first corner, but it is enough for a GT3 to overtake a GT4, though a little bit under the braking. What's going to happen here? Nothing too terrible, alright. Some GT4s just like to brake way later than GT3s and smash straight into the back of them, even though they're not fighting for position. True story, happens way too often. And oh, that's on track, interestingly enough. And ooh, what's happened to Roberto Santoro? He's left the scene. That is a Rouge Rattle on Complex, and we can have a look at just what happened to Roberto Santoro. It's a corner which gets all of the Ferraris. And really gets anybody as he goes up the hill. And whip! Absolutely losing the car. Oh, a big whack into the wall. I'm quite surprised that he's able to keep going. That is a huge whack to the wall. And it looks like that is very much affecting him, because Oscar Pratt able to catch up at the rate of knots, as Claudio Passo also able to catch Oscar Pratt behind. So this will be a three-way battle for the podium in just a little bit, as Claudio Passo able to just eat that gap between him and Oscar Pratt. As wow. There is 4 tenths that separate 3 drivers. They might try and go 3 wide into Blanchimont. Well, this will definitely turn out in a way that we don't like it to be. Roberto Santoro, though, yielding that position to the both of them. As, oh, that is bound to happen. And Claudio Passo able to just about keep it on the track. But definitely having a little bit of airtime there. As now through towards the final chicane they go. And Roberto Santoro into the pits to fix the damage. Claudio Passo now hoping to go for the inside. Oscar Pratt half covering it. Is he? Oh, that is a very late block by Oscar Pratt to keep 3rd place. And Claudio Passo will not be happy with that one bit. Though 12 more minutes to go, he can prove himself as the better driver. If that's what he thinks. It's oh my god, both of them having a horrible moment. It's the 2 Ferraris binning it on the top of a Rouge Radillon. And Claudio Passo able to take 3rd place ahead of Oscar Pratt. Well, that's one way to settle a fight. Just both bin it and see who gets ahead. As oh, we didn't see what happened, but oh wow, Alexander Stutsenko absolutely pedal to the metal. Currently 2nd fastest man in the GT4. And he's fighting Tom Young for that 4th place. Remember, Pavel Moreyev yet to come into the pits. Started on the wets, I'm pretty sure. No, started on the dries. Okay, that is the reason why he's still able to continue. That he is running way below pace off the rest. But 30 seconds ahead of Marco Basile. So not too shabby for him. And now Alexander Strutsenko absolutely gassing it towards 3rd place. Well, we'll be 3rd place. Another contact through Blanchimont. Will they learn to stop going side by side through Blanchimont? Well, only time will tell, it looks like. It is just a super sketchy place to go side by side through. An absolutely sketchy place to try and go side by side through, but nevertheless, people still try it, and yeah, make themselves sad. But the person who isn't going to be sad is Mac Rosa, who's now only about 1.3 seconds away from Alexander Stutsenko for what will be 4th place. As Dave Van Eyck continues to carve his way through the field. As there's Oscar Pratt also just about lapping Rosa. And Oscar Pratt might do a little bit of a dive on Alexander Stutsenko. Very valid dive on the GT4. As he tries to make up the gap to him and Claudio. In the last 8 minutes, there's about 4 or 5 laps to go in this race. So he'll count himself pretty lucky if he's able to get close to Claudio Passo for 3rd place. There's an interesting battle going on between Van Dam and Nikolai. Let's have a little look. Lucas Van Dam currently 1.8 seconds away from Nikolai. And oh, a little bit of a moment there for Lucas Van Dam. A little bit of the commentator's curse. Maybe even chat curse. Whoever said that. An interesting battle. Nearly cursing Lucas Van Dam. But yeah, it looks like Lucas Van Dam able to get closer to Olaf Nikolai through these couple of corners as Gleb Kabubulin making contact with Alexander Stutsenko as he was lapping him, but doesn't look like it was terminal. And Olaf Nikolai pitted, I'm pretty sure, quite early on. Let's have a look. Spotter guide. There is Olaf. And where is Lucas Van Dam? He's the number 27. Yeah, so Olaf pitting nearly a whole lap before Lucas Van Dam, and now the difference in the tires is really gonna show as Lucas Van Dam able to get just into the 4/10 gap between him and Olaf. As he goes for the dive, it's a little bit of a half dive, just showing Olaf that he is there. And Olaf, very, very nervous and anxious about Lucas Van Dam behind, really making a huge mistake, compromising his entry and exit as he does not cover the inside. Lucas will be able to go to the inside. He does not take the position. Very interesting indeed. Last 6 minutes to go off this race. About 3 laps to go. As Lucas Van Dam just losing a little bit of time to Nikolai through the first sector. By a little bit, I mean about 7/10 he lost through the first sector to Olaf. As this battle continues to unravel. When is Pavel Moraev going to come into the pits is the bigger question I have. Final 5 minutes of the race to go. He still has to come into the pits. He's the only person who has to come into the pits. No, he's not. Claudio Pazzo has to come into the pits as well because he's got a drive-through penalty. So that will give Oscar Pratt 3rd place. Now, looks like the tables have really turned. As Claudio Pazzo will be really hitting the air. Putting his fist in the air and saying, why? Why did this have to happen today? Especially after they had the contact. Most likely really wanted to stay ahead of Oscar Pratt. And now Oscar Pratt will be able to sail on past. Unless Gleb Kabubulin can take that position away from him before Claudio Pazzo comes into the pits. Now, Oscar Pratt in a little bit of traffic here himself. Gleb Kabubulin very much in the slipstream, trying to make the overtake. He's not going to go for it yet, but having a better entry there and definitely a better exit. Oscar Pratt caught napping a little bit there. Gleb Kabubulin trying to go round the outside, which will be then the inside. Oscar Pratt going to the inside, kind of covering the middle of the road. A very safe bet to do as Gleb Kabubulin. Is it Kabubulin? Kabibulin? Something close to that. Getting super, super close. And really not wanting to hang back from this, what will be net 3rd place, as Oscar Pratt lapping Marco Basile, the current P2 net leader in the GT4 class, and will be leader of the GT4 championship as well if he finishes this way. Gleb Kabubulin, he's got about 2 laps to go in order to get this overtake done. Oscar Pratt has really shown himself to be a hard opponent to overtake. And, oh my god, are they going to do the same thing that him and Claudio Pazzo did? Do not tell me that you're going to go side by side through Blanchimont. If this is going to be like the 3rd time that somebody does that, I'm not sure I want to commentate And it looks like Gleb Kabubulin hanging back just a little bit there, as now he goes to the outside of Oscar Pratt. Oh, already having to stop there as Oscar Pratt parking it on the apex off the chicane. And oh, look at that, the track really is starting to darken up as the conditions turn to fast, and it is going to rain in the next 10 minutes. Obviously the drivers will not see that, hopefully, as Pavel Moreyev finally comes into the pits. And Gleb Kabubulin has about 2 more laps to go off this race in order to make a move on Oscar Pratt for 3rd place. Both of them having an equal exit out of the Rouge Radillon complex. Both of them are completely weaving down the straight as Gleb Kabubulin, knowing the weak points of Oscar Pratt now, will try and exploit them in the slappers. Look at that. Big moment for the Ferrari, and another big moment for the Ferrari, and the McLaren will be able to go round the outside, and Oscar Pratt trying to take that position back. A very good side-by-side fight going on here, but Gleb Kabubulin just will be able to sneak on by with, oh, a huge crash again. Oh my god. As Gleb Kabubulin trying to not kill the GT4 of Marco Basile there, the current leader. What an absolute horrible end to the battle between Gleb and Oscar. An absolutely horrible end. And we'll see what the stewards say about that. Obviously, I cannot really judge it unless go a minute by and go a minute past. Oh, no, actually, we can judge it a little bit. Yeah, you know what? Let's just go from the chase cam. Oscar Pratt behind, trying to make a move, going side by side, just barely not making contact, and now into No Name. Gleb Kabubulin obviously going a little bit narrow, and oh, that is really just unfortunate. That's just what happens when you race closely, but obviously there might be somebody at fault. And the more professional stewards than me will know who that person is. As Abe starts his final lap. He's already started his final lap. And he is behind one of the EOS cars, as you can see by the beautiful liveries. Probably Roberto Santoro, as Claudio Passo is in the pits. And it is Santoro who's currently going to get lapped by Abe. Pavel Moreyev fighting with Nikolai. With Olaf Nikolai, as he's actually ahead of Lucas Van Dam. And are these guys in front or behind? They are behind. No, they're in front of Abe, so they will have 1 extra lap to go. Unless they get passed by Abe in this final corner. Or 2. I don't think he will. Actually, no, there is Abe. Ooh, they'll be close. Pavel Moreyev really needs to get a move on here, because Abe is going to finish the race. And Lucas yielding that position, and Pavel Moreyev, he's going to be counting that he doesn't get overtaken by Abe Santama here on the final corner in order to do 1 more lap to try and get ahead of Olaf Nikolai. And yes, he will have 1 extra lap. Will he actually? Yes, he will. He will have 1 more lap as Abe crosses the line to win the race. And yeah, okay, they do know that they've still got 1 more lap to go. Good. We can continue to look at this battle for 17th place in the GT4 as Abe will be able to take the celebrations. Hopefully he doesn't impede this GT4 battle. No, I think he's actually going to look at the GT4 battle behind. Actually, let's have a look at what Abe is going to do. I'm pretty sure he's just going to be looking. Yeah, he's... No, don't. What is he doing? Ooh, I'm not sure if that is the move. You know, he's finished the race. Pavel Moraev hasn't. Neither has Olaf. And it looks like Abe trying to help Pavel Moraev by bump drafting him, as Pavel Moraev trying to go to the inside. I'm really not sure what Abe is trying to do here. He might... He'll be very against the rules, I think, if he tries to bump draft him down the Blanchimont straight, or down the straight towards Blanchimont, as Pavel Moraev weaving all over the track, trying to get past Olaf Nikolai. We can just see it out of Abe's windshield. What is Abe doing? Oh, just stop. Making me absolutely cringe right here, as I do not want him to get in the way of this battle, as Pavel Moraev going side by side with Olaf. Round the outside, can he make the move? Oh, this will be very, very close. Let's have a quick look, actually, from the TV camera. Pavel Moraev going round the outside. Abe, do not get in the way, I swear. Do not bump draft them. Stop this. Stop this, man. Pavel Moraev and Olaf Nikolai going side by side. And oh, Pavel Moraev just having to yield a little bit. There is again Abe. Stop getting in the way. As Pavel Moraev, last hope he has is that Olaf makes a mistake into the final chicane. And I don't think he will. But Pavel Moraev fighting so hard. And oh, they pass. Just within a tenth of each other. And what an absolute great end to the race by Pavel Moraev and Olaf Nikolai. And what an absolute win by Abe Santama and Marco Basile, who now takes the championship lead in the GT4s. Vladimir Delepov finishes in third, and Tom Young in the Chevrolet as well, as he does a little bit of a drift show for us, finishes in third place. Abe obviously winning the race in the GT3s, Carlo D'Orazio in second place, and Oscar Pratt finishing on the podium. But if you have enjoyed... Yeah, wow, Nikolai, nailed that indeed. And good driving from Moraev. But if you have enjoyed the race and this season so far, do drop a like and subscribe. It's a free way to support us. And we will be back tomorrow for the Sprint Season 11 by Go setups, which are in the description down below if you want some very quality setups. But until next time, see you all